Okay. Hello, everybody. It's been a while, but I'm going to start making videos again now that the tier is over. So I'm going to start off with going over the fire changes in 10.1.5. I'm going to split this video into three parts. I'm just going to go over the changes real quick. I'm going to show some example builds, and then I'm going to talk about where I think that leaves the spec. So starting off with fire, if you haven't seen my last video or have been living under a rock, rate of power has been removed. Meteor has been removed, and shifting power has been moved to a spot in the class tree where you will basically always take it. We still have the time anomaly temporal warp choice, and then we have two new talents here. We have mass barrier and mass invis. You're basically always going to be playing mass barrier and raid, so I'm going to talk about that one. You cast your barrier on yourself and 4 nearby allies. Quite good, very, very good for arcane, and then it's like alright for the other two specs. You have Ice Cold, which turns Ice Block into a defensive cooldown instead of an immunity. Now reduces your damage taken by 70% for 6 seconds. It no longer grants immunity, and you can move cast spells, and it's off the GCD. One thing about this is I initially thought this was kind of crap, mainly because I didn't realize you could get all 3 capstones, and also because Mage's issues with survivability are not around defensive cooldowns. You have some extremely good defensive cooldowns already. Your issues with survivability is that your passive tankiness is very, very poor. So if there's ever unexpected damage, like somebody else in the raid messes up and causes you to take damage, or you make a mistake, you're very heavily punished for it in comparison to other specs. But still, it's really nice. But a big thing is that it interacts with cryo freeze. So I look at the tooltip, it also says it heals me for 80% of my maximum health, which is quite good. And you can see here I'm healing. Probably one of the best defensive cooldowns in the game, if not the best defensive cooldown in the game, especially with Winter's Protection being buffed. So yeah, that's a nice one. It's not really what Mage needed, but it's still very good, so I'll not really complain. Moving over to the spec tree. So there are not that many new toys in the spec tree, but what has happened is a lot of talents have been merged together, a lot of 2-pointers have become 1-pointers, and as a result, you just get more stuff in the class tree, or in the spec tree. So I'll start off at the bottom. There aren't that many changes near the start. Flame Strike is now baseline, and instead you have a talent that reduces the cast time of Pyroblast and Flame Strike, and Cauterize is also baseline. Searing Touch is still there. The talents that buff Scorch have all been merged into one talent. So you get Searing Touch, and then your movement speed and your Scorch Execute are now one talent instead of 3 talents. New talent that increases ignite damage when it's on fewer targets. Living Bomb is still here. You still have your Flame Patch into Incendiary Explosions. And a big change is that now Flame Strike contributes to Hot Streak, because you have a chance equal to your critical strike to build a hot streak. So that's really nice. One of the big reasons people prefer Ignite is because it's a lot more fluid, because Flame Strike didn't contribute to hot streak. Coming down the tree, there are a few more Living Bomb talents. Like each time Living Bomb deals damage, it has a chance to reduce its cooldown. Some talents have moved about, like you can see Firefall, Conflag, Pyromaniac, and this new talent Inflame, which basically means hot streak increases the ignite bonus, or a choice node. Master Flames here, Fever and Incantation is 1 talent. And Hypothermia is on the other side of the tree. Meteor has been moved to the spec tree. And the capstone that was here, Fiery Rush, is no longer a capstone. So all your capstones are here, but the capstone choices are just different. And then there's a talent that buffs Meteor's damage, but makes it split damage, because Meteor does not split damage by default anymore. Which is kind of nice, but Meteor is still kind of crap, so I'm not actually sure how that'll turn out. But the big thing is that there is a choice node here with Sun King's Blessing. Sun King's Blessing and Pyroclasm have been merged into one talent, which is something I've been asking for since they added Sun King's Blessing to the game. So basically, you have your good old-fashioned Sun King's Blessing, except that Pyroblast that generates your Sun King's Blessing also deals extra damage as if it was a Pyroclasm proc. Very nice, very smooth. There's this other new talent that now competes with Sun King's Blessing. One of the things that people have complained about is that Sun King's Blessing is so good that you just had to use it all the time, and it was really painful because sometimes it's not that good, but if it's overtuned, then you have to use it anyway, and it's very frustrating. So while Combustion is active, all of your single target spells, well, Phoenix Dooms, I guess, too, deal 50% increased damage and reduce the cooldown of your combustion. So basically, combustion more, have bigger combustions. Nice talent. It's currently not actually tuned that high, but I'll get into that later. And then the other talents are just the same. Some things have shuffled about, so you still have your Fiery Rush, you still have your Kindling, still have your Master of Flame. Also, Improved Combustion now converts Mastery at a rate of 75% instead of 50%. Crit is still kind of shit. One of the things that they keep doing is they keep nerfing Ignite damage, but I don't think they understand that that's problematic, because every time you nerf Ignite damage, you nerf the value of Mastery, which is a problem when crit is already bad, and then if you make another stat bad, fire scaling is just problematic. I mean, they always aura buff things, but you look at Windwalker and think, yeah, I don't trust them to always aura buff it if my spec scales poorly. So I'd rather just have a spec that functionally scaled. But yeah, that's the changes in the tree. Okay, showing off some example builds. I've just been playing about with SimC locally. Been trying all sorts of crap. None of this is going to be in Mage Hub yet, because Mage Hub uses raidbots under the hood, and all of these changes are on a branch, and I don't think raidbot supports building specifically from a branch. I'll try to get this stuff on Mage Hub as soon as possible, though. Right, so the best simming build right now is this, basically, with Sun King's Blessing. Hypothermia is actually pretty decent, but part of that is because Meteor kind of sucks, and Sun King's Blessing is a lot better than Unleashed Inferno. Still have Kindling, still have Fiery Rush, and I think that Sun King's Blessing is a lot more tolerable now that you're not dealing with Pyroclasm procs and Rune of Power at the same time. I'll just show a couple of things here. You do end up with a spare point to kind of sim a couple of different things for what that spare point should be, and it seems like Conflag is the best thing right now. You can see the best build with Unleashed Inferno is about 10% behind the best Sun King's Blessing build, which is pretty bad. And then Meteor is terrible, and don't even think of dropping Sun King's Blessing or Unleashed Inferno, because Meteor plus Hypothermia is absolute dog shit. So just really write that off. One of the things I was thinking with Unleashed Inferno is, okay, you get more combustions and you get bigger combustions, which could give you a better damage profile for certain fights. Seen it before. You know, Castle Nathir was the last time I would say fire was really, really good in progress, and you had things like the Gloomveil ads or Sludge Fist, where being able to use cooldowns at a certain time is very valuable. The problem is that if you look at a comparison between the damage profiles, they're not actually that different. The rate at which you get Sun King's Blessing seems to be similar to the rate at which you'd be combusting with Unleashed Inferno. So Unleashed Inferno is a lot smoother, a lot more consistent, but the damage profiles don't look that different. It's slightly burstier, but like not a lot, and the timings look pretty similar too. So I've kind of memed about with like saying that fire is just orange frost, but with Sun King's Blessing and no Rune of Power, it still is, which I think is a little bit problematic. And Unleashed Inferno doesn't solve that problem. I think Unleashed Inferno should probably lean less into the cooldown reduction aspect and more into the buffing combustion aspect. Since you're basically always going to play Kindling with this position in the tree. So I think it would be a lot better if that just gave you bigger combustions less frequently. But right now, it doesn't look like there's going to be a huge amount of choice on single target. You have like a random spare point that you can throw into a different spot, but your capstones seem pretty locked on Hypothermia and Sun King's Blessing. Checking out AoE talents, I went through a couple of things. There's a lot more. I'm not going to say choice, because I don't think it's real choice. There's just a lot more to figure out on AoE, because you end up with a lot of. It's not just like path down to the 2 best capstones and take a couple of different talents along the way. There's a lot of different options on AoE, and there's a lot to figure out. So it turns out this top build, Flamespark plus no Living Bomb, was me taking the Living Bomb talents, but not actually taking Living Bomb itself. And it turns out that that is just better than taking Living Bomb. So Living Bomb still sucks. Sun King's Blessing is still good on AoE. Flame Patch is good. Meteor kind of sucks. And none of the other talents really do anything. So I think you're going to be going for a very Flame Strike heavy build with Sun King's Blessing on AoE. You probably drop Hyperthermia and play Sun King's Blessing as your only capstone, and then you can just put those. It gives you a lot of options for pathing into the various different AoE talents that are like on the sides of the tree. Like you can see, if you play Flame Patch, you have to come down here. The Living Bomb talents kind of cap out here, and then there's like good Phoenix Flames talents on this side of the tree, and it's just very awkward to go out to the sides like that and still get your good capstones. So I think it's fine just to play Sun King's Blessing. This is what I was playing about with AoE. You can see I don't go down to the capstones here, and I just take a lot of the random guff in the middle as well as the AoE talents in the sides. I think I'd really like to get down to Hypothermia. It does buff Flame Strike as well, but you have to take a single target talent, 2 points in a single target talent to get there. You kind of want both of these talents already, so the pathing's not super good. One thing to note is that whenever you're comparing Flame Strike and Ignite now, it's a lot different than comparing them in Shadowlands. In Shadowlands, Ignite was scrapped because you couldn't consistently spread it, not because it did bad damage. So it did bad damage because you weren't consistently spreading it. So you could spec into Flame Strike talents and still have Ignite do a decent amount of damage, because you could just choose to use Ignite on 2, 3, maybe 4 targets if there's a priority target, and then whenever you go above that, then you switch to Flame Strike. So it is possible for those two things to coexist at medium target counts and small target counts. Obviously at large target counts you want to use Flame Strike, but it should be tuned that way. So I don't think the idea of like Flame Strike being the play means that you just never use single target spells or Ignite. You'll still be using those things. So where do I think this leaves Fire? The removal of Rune of Power and the merging of Pyroclasm and Sun King's Blessing make the spec a little bit more fluid to play in progress. It's a lot less prone to disruption. The issue is your damage profile is still not great, especially since Frost's damage profile is getting better, which I will cover in a different video. And Arcane's damage profile is very, very good, even without Rune of Power. You see that on, Razageth, Sarkarath, Dathia so far this expansion. It's some really, really, really good fights for Arcane because of that. And yeah, I mean, Fire does need to be tuned pretty high, I think, for it to be good. But I don't know. People will probably play it anyway. Maybe saying it's tuned really high is a bit harsh. It's not going to see play when it's bad like it used to, just because its damage profile and progression kit were so good. You still have, without Rune of Power, you have unlimited mobility. With Sun King's Blessing, you can cover all of that with Ice Flows. Your mobility is extremely good. You're kind of reaching BM Hunter levels of mobility, which is, super powerful on top of a cheat death. The damage profile is just something I think needs fixed, and I think a buff to Unleashed Inferno would definitely help that out a lot. But yeah, I think that's me for today. I will be doing videos on the other 2 specs, so if you're interested, check those out. And yeah, like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next video.